Being real, yeah, that's just facts. LeBron James, 10 finals, yeah, they going back to back. This is something new for the people. This is something new for the boy. And if you playing my shit.
Talk to him.
This is something new for the people.
Something new.
Yeah.
How did it happen for you? What goes into being one place for 25 years?
I've just done it because when I first started, I wanted to teach. I love teaching, and basketball was something that. And I played college football. In high school, I played football, basketball, baseball, all that kind of stuff, and just loved the game of basketball, and just started to learn everything about it. And got the job there. My first year at Santa Fe, didn't do basketball. Coach Bills was the first coach there, and I think I did soccer, had no idea what that was, and volleyball, had no idea what that was.
Wow.
So I did some of those kind of things. Will Etheridge, he'd already just won a state title, and I came in and just helped him, and he won another one. He won a bunch of them, but started that type of thing, and then got into basketball. And it was just kind of one of those things where I kind of got lucky. I was in a great position, even though we were like the baby of Edmond, the third school.
Right.
And it just, back in those days, you went to middle school, you went to high school, you stayed there, and we just built from within.
Built from within, and those sports that you weren't privy to, right? Were you asked to coach these sports? I'm guessing.
Well, the problem was when Coach Etheridge he obviously started it there, volleyball wise. He didn't have bus driver. It was all about bus driving, and
Okay.
I had my CDL, and he really had coached it all. He never did really have a coach, and he just wanted me to help do the freshmen, drive a bus, and he'd help me learn all the stuff about volleyball. What a eye-opening experience it was.
Yeah.
Because my first year there was like, okay, we won state in volleyball. Wow, okay.
Gee.
Wow, I was going, okay.
Way to come out of the gate, coach.
Yeah. And then the softball coach was there. I played baseball. Obviously when you finish college, you play some softball and all that kind of stuff, co-ed or men's or whatever.
Yeah.
So I helped with softball there. She was also the soccer coach. So I helped with soccer, and oh my gosh, I had no clue about that. Drove the bus.
That's it. They said they got a
So
role for you.
I got to do all that, and then after the first year, Coach Bills wanted me to come on as a coach, and our assistant left, and I came on as her assistant the second year. And I think I was an assistant for Santa Fe for 5 years, I believe. She left. She had 3 kids.
Yeah. Well, hey.
2 of them went through Santa Fe, the boys did. And then Coach Beer came in, and she was over at North Track coach. She came in and coached 4 years before I think she went to Sapulpa. So after that, I was lucky enough to take over that program. I don't know if a lot of people wanted that program, that kind of stuff, but I was lucky enough to get that. And from there, I kind of built what I envisioned of what girls basketball should look like at Santa Fe.
For sure. How were you elated when you got that opportunity to finally sit in the driver's seat?
Well, I think everybody thinks they want to be a head coach.
Yeah.
And if you haven't been an assistant, and I truly believe you need to be assistant for several years, because it's not about the X's and O's. I learned that, oh my gosh, all the stuff you got to know about being a coach, raising money, ordering stuff, teaching assistant coaches. I mean, there's a million things. I got a list, and every time I see a new coach, I email it to them because you better do all these on here before you even think about X's and O's.
Sure.
And once you learn that, and that kind of helped me be an assistant, I just made sure the head coach was ready to go every game, and having game stuff ready and practice ready and raising money. See, we didn't have hardly any money at Santa Fe. I'm a speed development type of person. I'm going, how much money do we have?
Yeah.
$200. Okay.
Oh, wow.
Well, there's not a lot of money
Not a
here,
lot of money.
so I had to learn how to raise money and how to, get equipment for all that kind of stuff.
I learned that in my limited time as a head coach. It's like there's a big difference between coaching and running a program.
Right.
And
yeah.
then the coaching part is fun. If we could
Easy.
just keep it in between the lines, we'd be all good. So
For sure.
whenever you got that job, and just like you just stepped into a new role, right? You're the new head girls coach
Right.
at Newcastle High School,
Right.
correct? What's the very first order of business for you in your mind when you get appointed a new position? What do you do first?
I think the first thing you've got to do is, and me and my assistant, Coach Jones, has already done this. I got on, as soon as I got the numbers, I called the parents one by one, introduced myself, talked to the player. Of course, with COVID right now, we haven't been able to meet and all that kind of stuff. But I've called each one of them. They're all just happy to have me, and blah blah blah, all that kind of stuff. But I think that's the first thing. I don't think you go into any program, I don't care whether it's just starting up or it's been there for a while or whatever, you have to get on the ground running and get with your players. Boys, girls, doesn't matter. They've got to understand that you care. And I think that's been maybe my biggest asset. Coaching is a learning process. I've been doing it for 25 years. Even going to coaches clinics before I was even a head coach, or going to UCO men's and watching Coach Seward coach a nationally ranked team, which was a run and gun team when old Billy Tubbs and all those were around. So you got to get with your players via phone calls, parents, and just let them know who you are, how much you care. And I think that's the start.
That's the very beginning.
I think it is. It has to be.
I like that bond point, especially the fact that you're coaching girls. And I don't want to make a big fuss about the comparisons between both. But I talked to Coach Hodges over at Moore. I had him on the pod about a week ago, and he said something that I thought was genius. And I'm gonna throw it at you. He said he thinks, from his vantage point, having coached both, that boys have to battle before they can bond. He said girls got to bond before they can battle.
Right.
To that, you would say what?
Yeah, and I think that's true. I think I've never done boys. But I do have a grandson that plays at Mustang High School, and of course, I played basketball at Edmond Memorial High School. But boys is just a whole different ballgame.
Sure.
But you know what? When I coached the girls at Santa Fe, man, our girls were tougher than nails, and it's battle every day. That kind of stuff. But yes, the girls have a tendency to be more of they bond together and they play better. To me, they seem like they play better together.
For sure. Now, how do you manage your expectations from year to year? And the reason I ask that is because at EdmondSanta Fe, which is where I know you're from, you guys had a heck of a lot of success. You worked that program up to a point to where when you thought about the top of girls basketball in 6A, EdmondSanta Fe is in the conversation year after year. You got a couple state championships in there too. Sure. So how do you keep that motor running year after year?
I think you have to, as any coach, just like you are, you've got to figure out what you want to do. What to me is, if Sherry Cole was setting up in the stands, or any coach was setting up in the stands, what do you want them to see in practice and in a game? And I had to learn that from way back. And I remember Sherry Cole when she was an assistant at Edmond Memorial High School. Nobody knew who she was. And watched how they played, and then I watched UCO men's how they played, and college, and I watched high school games, and I kind of came up with, man, girls are slow.
Physically,
back in that day,
Gotcha.
it was a half court, walk the ball up, and play the game, and that was right before 6-on-6. Right. So it was like, I want it to be run and gun and push and play great defense, because UCO men, and Coach Seward was a crazy guy. He was a great coach, but he was known for averaging 127 a game. They could score. Billy Tubbs was, it was 1-2 pass fire.
A lot of possessions.
They might, and shoot a ton. Now in high school, you're not going to shoot a ton, but you have that mentality of run and push, and then play the best defense you can. So my vision was two things. You got to be able to do two things. You got for the girls' side. You got to be able to handle the rock. You got to play defense. Because there's a ton of shooters out there. In the state, just in the state of Oklahoma, in 77 counties, from A to 6A, you're going to go find shooters.
For sure.
But can they go play at the next level, and can they defend? And, you know, depending on where they come from and what the mentality, what are you going to hang your hat on?
That's right.
I'm just a three-point shooter. No, you're going to hang your hat on because you can handle the rock and you can defend. I can make you a shooter. I'm great at shooting. I know how to teach shooting. My daughter's a great shooter. Courtney Walker turned out to be a pretty good shooter.
Yeah.
You know, all those kind of things. And so at the end of the ball game, can you defend? We've been down before in games. Not a big time. Never been a big time three-point shooting team. I bet in our two state back-to-back championships, we might average 2 threes a game.
Wow.
But it was the defense, the rebounds, the steals, the push, and run that team into the ground. And in the fourth quarter, those threes are not going in because their legs are tied. We're getting steals and run. We're getting easy layups. So that's always been the idea. The question is, and I've talked at clinics and I've been a lot of different places. Coach, we can't do what you do. I'm going, well, why can't you? Can you run? Can you push? Can you dribble? If you can do that, change the game. We averaged about 16 to 17 points off a defensive turn, you know, just getting the ball and going. Because that's the difference in when you can't score or you can't shoot three, whatever your mentality is on offense. And that made the big difference in the game. We would kill teams just by running, and the really good teams, we tire them out in the fourth quarter. Second half of the fourth quarter, we're getting steals or rebounds and running and pushing, getting layups, and that's kind of this always been my philosophy. And just loving my girls, and when they have problems, I'm there for them. And I think you have to do that. You can't separate, I'm the coach over here and your players are over there, because if you lose, you're probably not going to be there long.
That's right.
But if you care, win or lose, you've got them. They're going to work hard for you, and you're going to go from there.
They know when you're BSing them too, man.
Oh yeah.
They got some good detectors on that.
Oh yeah, girls are good about that. Oh yeah, and I think you have to have fun. You can't just be serious 24/7. We'll have fun in practice when it's time to have fun, and when we're serious, it's time to be serious. But I think you have to have both of those. You can't just be, I don't think you can be that yeller and screamer anymore.
At least not
I think
all
you
the
can
time.
be tough.
Sure.
You can do things, but it's changed. And as a coach, over time, you got to learn how to change. Maybe not drastically, but you have to learn how to do that.
Got to evolve, right?
Yeah, you have to if you want to continue to coach.
To your point about the shooting, have you run into a little bit of pulling teeth a little bit to get your girls to understand, hey, listen, I understand the climate. The three is what's sexy now.
Oh, it
you know
is.
what I mean?
It is.
But maybe that's not where your bread is buttered.
Right.
I mean, have they pushed back on that?
No, not really, because my girls have always loved running and gunning because they just love it. Because that's just what they want to do, and it's a fast pace. They just like that. Now the shooting part, yes. Do we see a lot of zone? Yes. So you're going to have to be able to. Can you shoot against the zone? If they get back, I know teams I've played against that were like us.
Right.
Oh, I'm playing zone the whole game, making them shoot. So how do you get those points when you can't, shoot threes or so it's the push and run and the defense and stealing the balls and put pressure on them. That's where you make up that if that's not working. A lot of times we have a 7-second rule. When they shoot the ball, we got 7 seconds to get it and get it down the floor and try to score. And it's the mentality of that. Now the shooting part, I've never had big time shooters,
right.
So if I had them, yes, please run zones. We're going to get some shots up, make some threes.
We'll
and
get
those
you out of
type
that.
things. And we've had some over time. I mean, Courtney Walker, we played the Edmond Memorial one time in third place. We're down 10 at halftime. She has 10 points. We're trying to push the ball. They're running zones and stuff like that. And all of a sudden, we get them on defense, and she scores 31 in the second half, and we beat them by 10. So it's just kind of the mentality of how you coach and what you want out of them.
Do you think the zone exposes more of a team that can't shoot or a team that doesn't know how to move without the basketball?
I'm a big-time zone guy because, one of the first people I listened to was the Syracuse coach. His 2-3, but it's different when you got 6'7s in the front, 7s in the middle, and 6'9s. You got Carmelo on the back, all that kind of stuff.
You're
it's
shrinking
a
that
different
court.
But zones for me are more of attacking zones, more of a movement. Man, I've got ball, you got my back, you got help and hoop. Zones are that way if you teach them that way. I'm not, I hate zones that are just kind of there to stand and
To be lazy.
and you be lazy and all that kind of stuff. Now we run multiple zones and all kinds of different things. I probably have 13, 14 different defenses we run.
That's big.
And 1-3-1 might have 3 different things. We can go into a 2-3 from a 1-3-1 on one pass. So there's a bunch of different things you can do other than just man. I play man. We do a lot in man. But you have to be able to switch it up.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, even the great Bobby Knight was a man. And then when I saw him later in live, I think he learned that from his son at Texas Tech. Well, yeah, we can do zone. And I'm going, yeah, you can.
You can.
You got to switch it up.
Yep.
That kind of stuff. So.
I think a lot of ego goes into some coaches, not all, when it comes to, because everybody would like to be able to sit down and go mano a mano, but it's like sometimes what you think you do well, the opposition does a little bit better than you do. You know what I mean? And if it's about winning, you might want to embrace adjustments right there.
Yeah, you gotta have a stall game. You gotta. I mean, there's no shot clock. So, I one time when I was pretty decent, wasn't great, and I had 3 good ball handlers, and they could shoot free throws.
Oh, that's big.
And I used to, these teams that were better than me, if I was within, if I was ahead at any time in the fourth quarter, 4 minutes left, I'm up 2 or 4, I'm going into a stall game.
We're going to slow this thing down.
I know I'm going to get beat if I just keep going up and down because they're better than we are. And I've probably won 7 games that year just off of that. So you have to have different things that you can do and install those and be able to have your team be ready to do those.
That's how you close the game right there, man. Ball handlers and free throws.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. Some people don't like that. They think it's like, what are you doing? You got to be smart about it, And if you know how to ball, and if you got ball handlers, you're going to go to the free throw line. So can you shoot free throws? That's going to be the key. And if you can, you're going to win a lot of games.
Just that simple. It's funny how the game, no matter how fancy and the glitz and glamorous it turns out to be, it still comes back to basic fundamental principles.
Does it always?
Are you turning the ball over? Are you rebounding? Are you making your layups, making your free throws? You got a chance.
That's right. There you go. And attitudes. You got to have girls that understand, and I think it's always been about. You see that in boys and girls basketball. I see it all the time. I see it in AAU. I see it in MAYB and all that stuff. I'm going, and it has changed. Probably 10 years ago, it's gotten a lot different as far as players' attitudes, parents, and all that kind of stuff. And there's just you got to know how to do that. As a coach, you're going in. You got to know how to handle that.
That's for sure.
And if you can do that, master that part of it. I don't think anybody masters it, but I think if you just know how to deal with that, I think you'll be a lot better coach.
I want to talk to you a little bit about leadership and developing leaders, because I think most would ideally like for their best player to be their leader. And when I say leader, I mean the vocalist.
Sure.
But one thing I've learned in my career is that being the rah-rah type, that's a personality trait.
It is.
And either you have it or you don't. And I've made mistakes as a coach.
It's hard to find those.
That's correct. Just somebody who embodies everything. And as a coach, I've made some mistakes by trying to force that personality trait onto a kid who just didn't have a lot to say.
Right.
He or she would just keep their head down and do the work. They led by example.
There you go.
And then you got another kid who just wouldn't shut up, but their work ethic was iffy sometimes.
Right.
So what would you prefer from your leader? Does your vocalist have to be your best player?
Now, I think that I've learned over the years being assistant coach and a head coach is like, okay, yeah, we have captains, but those are captains like at the start of the game, flip the coin and, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff.
Right.
But it's all about leaders, not so much captains. There's a big difference in those two. And the leaders, for me, I've never really come out and go, oh, you're a pretty good player, let's make you a captain. Well, a lot of girls do not know how to do that. I mean, as far as, now, if I make you a captain, that doesn't mean you're going to run the program and tell you what to do. I mean, that's never going to help.
Mm-hmm.
And then now you've got problems amongst your players. But I think that you have leaders, and it's got to be the leaders that are going to be your hardest workers. Can it be a junior? Can it be a sophomore? Yeah, those can, you talk to them about, hey, show example every day in practice. Be the hardest worker you can. And then as you get older, when you become that junior, senior, you lead by example, and we'll follow you. Courtney Walker, I mean, I'll mention her a bunch, but
sure. And I remember.
She was she could handle the rock like nobody's business. It's like, wow, but her work ethic. We'd get to practice. She'd already have her shoes on. She's not over there shooting. She's over there got 2-ball dribbling, working on her ball handling behind, between, and blah, blah, doing all that kind of stuff. And I look at my players, I'm going, okay, and then what happened? They go over there and start doing that stuff. So you lead by example, and you have to get those type of people. Debrion Davis, which played for me as a post. She's a principal over at Edmond North. She was one of the few like captains I could say, and those come along in a long time where they are able to teach, and you better listen because she's the leader. She was big post.
There you go.
You better listen to her because she had my back. She knew the right way you have to play as a player, and she taught that way as a student. You don't get those very often. You mostly lead by examples and stuff as far as on the court, but she did that also. But I just had some players that were, they just, you're better players that are good people, you're going to be fine.
During those state championship runs, and you won 2 of them back to back, right?
Yes, we're in the finals 4 times, 2 silver, 2 gold.
Yeah, and the 2 years you won, it was 11 and 12. Am I right?
11 and 12.
11 and 12. Okay, and I'm interested in that because I think that there's a point in every season where a coach can see that his or her team turning that corner. Whether it's one game or if it's a stretch of games, you start to see that transformation. During those runs, did you know at any point that, hey, man, we got a chance to do this thing?
The year before, when Courtney was a sophomore, and and Courtney grew a lot, but as a sophomore, we had an opportunity, and we didn't make it. We lost in the semis, and those girls were bawling their heads off, and they always do anyway after a loss if it's in the state playoffs and anywhere. But I could tell by going in the locker room. I mean, it was like they made sure the seniors went out. We talked about all those, but I could tell by looking at them, and then they called me days later and going, hey, we're ready to go, Coach. Can we get in the gym? I'm just, oh, okay, we have an opportunity.
Yeah, there you go.
And we did have an opportunity, but that group as sophomores were going, we got you, Coach. And I'm going, okay, all right. I could go to practice, not even the horn would go off. I would sit in a chair, and they'd start running practice without me.
Wow.
And I mean, if they messed up, they knew. They'd start back over. No, didn't have to say anything. And I'm sitting there, I'm going, I've got college coaches. I got University of Texas. I've got the whole Oklahoma State staff there. I've got like 6 or 7 different, and they're sitting there like, wow, they do this all the time. I said, well, doing it for a long time, these girls know exactly what to do. They know exactly what the level is, because you mess up, you got to start over and everything.
Right.
So that was when we kind of knew. And then in those 2 years, I think we lost 1 game. So.
Oh man, it's big.
So it's like, wow. But then the next year after that, we made it to the Final 4, and then the year after that, we made it to the finals. So in 3 years, we were in the finals 3 out of 4 years. So Which is, you don't see that very often because usually you graduate a lot of seniors. You might be good for a little while, but then you drop off. And we just never really ever dropped off.
Yeah.
Because I think we went 13 out of 14 years and 11 in a row. So I never think about that, but I'm sitting there in 6A to go 11 years in a row. That's kind of special. And we, in that span through there, we used to have the Edmond Open. So we used to host it every 3 years. Well, we went on a 54-game winning streak. Most people don't, I didn't even think about it until Coach asked me, we've won a lot of home games. And so we went back and looked through it, and I was going, oh my gosh, who does that? It was like a 2-year period or two. We never lost a home game.
You're taking care of business
I'm
at
going,
home, man.
wow. So anyway, there's things that after you get by, it's like, wow, those are amazing records that nobody even realized. I had a post that blocked 22 shots in a game.
Yeah, you don't hear about that at the amateur level, man.
And in
Jeez.
Texas, who's the girl, the tall 6'9" girl who went to, what's her name?
Are you talking about Griner?
Griner.
Uh-huh.
I heard she had a record of 28. It was a state Texas. And I'm sitting there not even thinking twice about it. I'm going, well, I had a girl that did 22.
22, yeah.
I was going, okay.
Yeah, I'm up there
and
with
nobody
you.
does block shots in Oklahoma. But anyway, it's like, wow, okay.
And that's rim protection right there.
Oh, yeah, she was almost 6'4", so she could handle the rim.
Man.
You play man everywhere, and she just takes the pack.
That's a fact. And you obviously worked that program up to respectability. Just like it sells itself, man.
Yeah.
Kids want to come and they see the culture that's been developed. They want to be a part of that.
Sure.
But
sure.
when you're having these exceptional teams that are losing a very small amount of games, not just in one season, but from season to season, how do you keep their feet on the ground?
Well, now you go back to where we used to lose a lot. And when I was an assistant, I mean, we used to, I don't know if we won more than 3 games or 4 games in a year. So I've learned from that end how hard you've got to work when you lose night in and night out. And I remember one year we finally won the first conference game ever.
Wow.
We were in the mid-state conference, I believe. And it's hard, but upbeat. Coaches, you got to be upbeat and say, hey, the only way you get better, fundamentals. Let's get better at ball handling. Let's get better at blocking out. Understand all the facets of the basketball game. Maybe you're not the best shooter and a driver and all that kind of stuff, but get better at that stuff. And then the wins were, we got beat by 35 by PC North, okay? Well, the next year we got beat by 12. Okay, so we're getting better. And you have to look at that. So when you're not as good, and and Newcastle's going to be kind of a rebuilding type program, and you got to get down. And I know that because I've been there, what that is about, and slow steps, getting better and better and better, and then you start getting players, and then things change. But it's the work ethic. It's got to be there no matter what.
Rolling into that, obviously you had declared yourself retired, right? right in the middle of right in the middle of the spring, right in the middle of the COVID, and it caught me by surprise, and I'm thinking, I was like, man, I wonder if he saw it coming. Did you know? Did you feel it? Like, you know what, this is gonna be it for me.
I think last year was a tough year. It's not like, oh my gosh, this was my 2 losing seasons in 19 years, but it was just like. Just got into that, like, okay, I just think that I need somebody, let's get something, because when you start thinking about it, that's a long time. So I don't know if anybody's coached like 25 years or even 19 or 20. They're out there, but in 6A, there's probably not a lot. So I'm sitting there, I'm going, okay, so got a place at the lake. I'm going, okay, we're going to fish more.
Yeah.
So I just thought that this would be a good time to step down, and lo and behold, and then one of my assistants is going to be helping at Moore High School, and my other assistant, Peyton Jones, she reminds me a lot of my daughter, and so anyway, I'm teaching her, and she's learned the program, and she's getting better as a coach, and so she has a 3rd grade team. And on that 3rd grade team is my granddaughter.
There you go.
And But just watching, going to practice, being an assistant, it was what's fun. We're at I think it was the Hive. We were somewhere coaching. It was my first game as assistant. And all these officials that officialed all my games, they're all out there. Look, there's Coach Matt. He's they all came over and shook my hand. What are you doing? I'm going, oh, I'm just helping my assistant out. And
Yeah.
so anyway, just sitting there watching. I'm sitting there, and my wife's retired, but she's busy. She's a big pickleball player, and
She gets after it, huh?
She gets at, and so I'm just sitting there at home, not doing anything. I'm going, God, I'm kind of missing it. And I'm watching my Coach Jones coach, and I'm sitting there going, okay, I'm missing, because I see stuff. I'm going, because I've been doing it for so long. I'm going, I'm going, okay. And then then Chloe, I'm sitting there trying to coach her, and then coaching the girls. I'm going, you know what? I think I still miss it.
Still got that fire burning.
Yeah, but then I'm going, no, I'm not going to coach again. I told my wife, Luann, I said, if the only job would be open would be Newcastle, because I just like the people there. We went to tournament there the last 3 years. We won it last year, but it's just good people, ran the right way, but just the people were good. The kids seemed great. And I said, he's never going to leave that place. I'll just stay retired, and I'll just keep helping the third graders or whatever, and it's no big deal. And then a couple months later, the job came open. I went, whoa. And some people left and all that kind of stuff, but it's not about that. I love kind of like rebuilding programs. I did that. I didn't know I was rebuilding, but when I was at Santa Fe at the first, I did that. I love that part of it. Mm-hmm. I think you got to be that as a coach. You got to be on the ground and work your team up, whatever level they are.
Right.
And it came open. The principal there, awesome. The superintendent's phenomenal. Both of them are great. The AD is phenomenal. It's like, wow, it's just like they just wanted me there, and I applied for it and got it. So here I am. I'm going, okay, so what are you going to do now? I'm going, well, I'm going to rebuild this program up to where it needs to be. And my assistant, and I got another assistant from Okarche. She's a first-year teacher there. And so we're going to go that way and go from there.
So I can tell you still love this thing, man.
Oh, yeah, I do.
And I always ask, veteran coaches, what keeps you going? How do you keep reinventing and recreating yourself,
I think
recharging that battery over and over?
I think it's like being a teacher.
Right.
When you teach somebody, and I'm a special ed teacher.
Okay.
And I do math. I actually kind of do a bunch of different stuff. But if I can get a kid to learn the Pythagorean theorem and understand what it is, and you see a light bulb come on. So when I get a girl that knows how to actually cross over and make a shot, and they're like, wow, I just did that. You love that, you know, and that's what I think keeps you going. Yeah, did we win a lot and stuff? But even if we don't, we're going to start over and learn and get better and better and better. And just to see the lights come on to those girls that, hey, they got a coach that cares, and I'm going to do everything in my power to make you better. I mean, I never stop. Monday through Friday, great. We might take Saturday off. Sunday, we're in the gym. In July, back in the days, the gym would be open. I'd have 15, 20 kids come up. And we just get in there, work on fundamentals, getting ready for the next season. I think I remember taking 2 weeks off every year for probably 25 years, because the rest was just basketball and wanting to get these girls better. I know people just want to take a whole month off and not see their girls, but I was the opposite. I was just, I
bet you those 2 weeks weren't consecutive either, were they?
No.
One at a time.
Yeah.
Okay, you spoke quite a bit about your assistants, and I could tell nobody is in the game as long as you've been in the game and achieved the level of success that you have without knowing exactly what you want and how to go about doing it. But in that, a lot of times you may be considered a bit of a control freak. How hard is it for you to delegate responsibilities to your assistants?
That is something that you have to learn when you're young and get older, because my dad, he's still alive. He's 94. And I swept the floors. I swept it every day. And either I had coaches that came in later because they're elementary and get it there, whatever. I'd get the balls out, all of those kind of things. I didn't even know back in the days how many coaches I could hire. I mean, I didn't know. So I did all that. But probably 5 or 6 years into that, these coaches that I actually got that I knew, and they were on my staff, my job was to teach them how to become head coaches. So we start delegating small things and all of those. It helps me. I'm kind of a football coach. I got an offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator.
There you go.
You know, I can defensive coordinate all day long, and offense way back in the days was just what it was. I'm really good at offense now, but I've got girls that have gone on and become head coaches and all that kind of stuff. That's great. And I've got another one, and Peyton Jones. I'm training her to be that. And you know, Katie became one. I've had a couple others, but I think you cannot just go out and run everything and let your coaches stand and watch. I mean,
because that's what they'll end up doing.
Yeah, and you have to be better at that, and that's what I do now. So probably the last 6-7 years or so, I come into practice. They know what's going on. I just stand and watch. I'm going, I don't even know what that's about. But I watch them, and they do exactly what I've kind of trained them and taught them, and, you know, they learn different stuff. I've had coaches, even my daughter, have learned stuff and go, Dad, let's look at this. We look at it, put it in, if it works, if it's a drill or whatever. Now we go to a ton of coaches' clinics. We've gone to Nike clinics since they probably have had them. I've probably been in Nike coaches' clinic for probably 16, 17 years in a row at Tunica, Mississippi. It's a small one.
I went once.
I don't go to the Vegas one because you get lost there. But the Tunica one's small, and I've seen all kinds of different coaches and learned a lot of different stuff. So it's just kind of what it is. But you have to delegate if you're going to. I think if you're going to coach for a long period of time, but you got to have coaches you trust. You got to know those people. I don't think I could go to Newcastle without bringing my assistant in that knows me like the back of my hand.
There you go.
So you got to have that, and you got to know how to hire them the right way and that kind of stuff.
Logistical things, right?
Yeah, big time.
Now, one thing that I've always learned, or that I always notice about you when you're in action on the sideline as a coach, and it actually kind of made me be like, okay, he's a human being. I always will see two things, right? You're always going to have what I would call the bar stool. You know what I mean? Where most coaches might be standing up as a head coach. Now he pulled a bar stool right out there, right on the line of the coach's box, and be sitting there, and he had a note card, with the notes on that thing. And because, a couple times I've gotten lost in the moment, and I took some mental notes beforehand on things that I was going to say or do, but, the heat of the battle, you forget something.
Right.
And without giving me all your cheat codes, what are some of the things that you would put on that particular note card to remind yourself?
On my note card, it starts with offense, and the top is offense, and then I have continuity offenses, and I'll have probably about 10 or 12 continuities, and then right below that is set plays, and I'm a big set player, but I probably got about 8 to 10 set plays. So if you add those, you got about 20, 25 different plays, different ways. So that's that. And then right below that is zone. So I have my zones broke down into 2-3 zones, 1-3-1 zones, 1-2-2 zones.
There you go.
And then I've got plays that, and from first to last, my first play on that card, just like looking at a restaurant menu, everything's, that first play is going to be my best play against that 2-3 zone, and the second best play, and the third best. And then some of those that work against the 2-3 will probably work against that 1-2-2. So you see same ones in a couple of them.
Sure.
And the 1-3-1 is totally different because it's a whole different cat. So we'll have a couple of those. The problem is you don't want to ever be a coach and play in a game and you've never seen the 1-3-1, or you've never seen a boxing one.
Yeah.
And then that happened to me. I mean, I played against Choctaw, got Courtney Walker, and they're in a boxing one. Never seen it. And this is learning as a coach. So in a boxing one, I've got girls on the perimeter, ain't nobody guarding. Whoo, whoo. Hey, I'm open, coach. We shot 23 threes, made 2.
Clank,
got beat.
clank.
And
Yep.
I'm sitting there and going,
Worked like a charm.
Next day, I'm calling coaches. I'm on everything. What do I need to run against a boxing one? So I learned, but that's what you have. I even have a boxing one down there. But you got to run those. You got to have girls that understand them. Yes, if you're getting ready to play somebody, you scouted them. But you got to be prepared for those. So that's what those are. And then right below that is my defenses, my mans and my zones. Which ones we trap out of the zones or mans, then our presses, and then at the bottom are our out of bounds plays. You got to be able to run a play that will run against a man in a zone. That's who we start, because you never know what you're going to start off on the tip.
Right.
So we have a zone play that's pretty good against a zone, but it's pretty good against a man. So we run that every time. On timeouts. Young coach, you know that, golly, that man's just killing them. They call a timeout. You go run a play, and why did he get in the zone?
Yeah, there you
you
go.
know, just a little bitty thing. So that's what's on that card. And then a lot of times on that card on the far left will be their starters and things that when I take that card into the locker room to pregame talk, my assistant will put up their starters, who's starting against them if that's what we're doing. What's our first play? All of those kind of things. So I'm a defense. So when you see me, you might see 3 different defenses 3 different times down the floor. So
Sure.
the girls got to be able to do that. And I've got defenses at half court. As soon as they cross half court, they'll see a zone, they'll switch to man, or they'll switch to 1-3-1, or you don't know what's coming as soon on that first pass. So there's a bunch of different things. So that's kind of what's on that card. Texas A&M coach came down one year, and he came down, and great guy, used to be at Arkansas, and now he's at Texas A&M. He has his card, but he has his card blown up because you can't see real well. But anyway, he has it on the back of his clipboard, and he always keeps his clipboard. And he just turns it over and he looks and that kind of stuff. So different thing. I always keep mine in my pocket, but I always have it in my hand and all that kind of stuff. So.
Have you ever gone to battle and forgotten it? Like, God damn, I have this card.
Coach, where's my card? Well, we can't find it. Oh my God! But my assistant, as good as she has it on her phone.
There you go, playing A and B.
So I was going, okay, and she'll whisper or whatever. So, and Katie was real good about all that kind of stuff.
There you go.
She helped coach me.
For sure. And Katie Bass is your daughter.
Yes.
And she's now the head girls basketball coach at Mustang.
Yes.
Talk about grooming her. And obviously we had her on the podcast a couple months ago.
Go-getter.
She is, and she had a hell of a journey, getting into coaching.
Sure.
And then starting under your tutelage, leaving, coming back,
Yeah.
and then leaving what seems like for good now.
Yeah.
And then y'all end up locking horns, coaching against each other.
Yeah, that's all different. I don't want to talk about that. But anyway.
I hear that. Man, how proud are you, man?
Oh, like just grinning from ear to ear. She got me into basketball, and then when she got old enough and went to college and came back, anybody that's never been a head coach, then she was an assistant for me, and then she went to U.S. Grant, and the only way she was going to get that is because anybody's going to do that as assistant, you're not going to get a good job. That's just not going to happen. I mean, just the way it is. Unless
right out of the gate.
you know somebody or something like that. So she got that job, and then she came back and coached for 3 more years or what have you for me. And she just really grew. She just learned. And earlier on, man, I was a walker, and I'm a official guy. I'm gonna.
Yeah, you're right.
I'm going to like every official. They've got to be on my side. That kind of stuff. So they know me. I see me in the gym. They'll come shake my hand. But she got better and better. And then when the Midwest City job, it's just like my coach right now. I mean, Midwest City job came open late, and it was when it comes open really late, most heads can't apply for those because it's almost too late. and it came open, and having my name in there and all that kind of stuff helped her, and they hired her. And heck, the next year she won state championship.
Yeah.
And they had a good team. That team just
Really good.
needed to be worked hard. They had to learn how to work hard, and she made that happen. And it was amazing to sit there and watch her win. And it's been amazing. Yes, we've had played each other, and that's what I hate that more than anything.
Do you really?
Oh, I hate it.
I
Like
hate it.
nobody's business. Because whether I lose or win, I just don't. I hate that. So,
I got you. She did say, well, we sort of have this unspoken system to where we don't speak at least for a few days after that. But But you gotta love it. That's competition,
Oh, it
man.
is. It is. And then you know what she's running, because she's running a lot of stuff, and she's learned to change that, and she's learned to make it different. Because when she played me, all of our girls would know everything.
There you go.
Coach, she's running, and they already know what it is, so they know where the next pass is going,
Right.
and that kind of stuff. But it would be different if I had to play her now. So
Yeah. Have you ever been in a situation where maybe you had to tweak or modify what you ordinarily would do because of the type of personnel you have?
Oh, I tell you, a great thing, because I do the same stuff over and over and over. So these coaches have been in the conference. They know me so they know when we're doing stuff.
Sure.
I had a girl that played for me that was 90% deaf, and about 6 foot athlete, but
Six anything is exceptional.
yeah, and just a good kid. She come from the Tulsa side, and just you couldn't find a better kid.
Gotcha.
And she had a hearing aid, but she also had a translator, and just the problem with a person like that is not defense, because we might play man 3 or 4 times, so she knows what she's doing. But on offense, we might change offenses every time down, depending on, there's teams that do kind of like what we do. They change everything.
You try to keep you off
So
balance.
you have to, we'll call it out, but the interpreter is trying to tell her, and so we're running offense, she's trying to, that kind of stuff. So we started learning hand signals. I kind of go back to my baseball.
Yeah.
Nose, cheek, chin, fingers. So we started doing that, and I started learning a few little sign languages and stuff. So we started playing against teams, and we're doing this.
Yeah, man.
Or we're doing this, and the coaches are going, what are they running? And so they can't hear it, and it's all silent. I thought, that's not a bad idea on certain things, things that we do. Like if I had to go play Katie, we started doing silent stuff, and they're looking, going, what's Dad saying? Because we know exactly, and then he's doing this, and they're going, oh, okay. So that kind of thing. So we've learned that, and I kind of kept that in my, my basket going, okay, we need to start doing that. Now, new coach and a new conference, I can kind of go back to my old stuff, but I've learned that, and it's a great tool to know if you're playing somebody you played a couple times.
That's right, and especially if it's pandemonium in there.
Oh,
everything looks like this.
And that was the other thing. Yeah, what? We played Memorial. You could not. I could scream at something along, they couldn't hear it, and I'm at half court.
Yeah. Jeez.
So if you can do this, or you can do this, or you can do something, then it doesn't matter how loud it is. Because I've gone to games where the hearing impaired played, and you can't hear. I mean, it's loud out there, but they're not talking. So it's interesting to go see those kind of things. So it changes.
So many layers to the game, man.
Oh yeah, there is.
Now I gotta ask you this, because you've had some marquee, notable names that you've coached, and every time I see one, whether this is good or bad, I'm always wondering, okay, who's coaching that kid? Because I've seen a lot of programs, whether it be high school or AAU, where the top talent or talents get like immunity. You know what I mean? They just get the ultra green neon light, and I think that even the good players really want and for sure need to be coached hard. So when you got those names, how do you deal with them?
Yeah, they have to understand. They understand at Santa Fe that if you came to my program, you're going to work your rear off, and you've got to earn it. Mm-hmm. I mean, I could have got a 6'5" girl come in, like, okay, all right, but she's got to earn it. And you got to get them prepared for the next level. You don't go to college and, oh, you're a freshman here, let's put you in the starter. And that ain't happening.
Don't give them too much
too
soon.
It isn't. I mean, unless you're a grinder or something. But I mean,
there you go.
But you're going to either watch your freshman year or get to play a little bit. Totally different than what you were as a stud on your high school team. So, can you handle that? And I think for girls it's hard. I don't know about boys, but girls, I think it's very hard for them. And I'm starting to see girls like go to college, quit their freshman year and go another place. Or go, I don't understand that. And then if you watch down the road, it never works out for a lot of them. So you got to learn how to be coached at the high school. There's not every coach is a good coach, I know that, and there's not always a good teacher at every school. So
Right.
You got to know where you're going, and you got to believe in that, and you got to stick with it. And if I had any advice for parents out there, hey, let the coaches coach, and you just have to do that. If not, your daughter will never understand, because at the college level, I can tell you right now, I'm either going to get you, but if I'm watching your parent in the stands, I'm probably going to go to that next girl I got on my list. I mean, and I've had coach go, Coach, I didn't know their parents were like that, or I would have never never got them. So, but a lot of that they see at AAUs and they'll see that kind of out of them. Because if I'm looking at you, man, I'm looking at you, but they don't know I'm looking at those other two.
Yeah.
and if something's just not right, if you're whatever, you're on your phone too much, I'll go to number 2 or number 3. So it's changed a lot. So it's just it's gotten different. So
Everything is relative.
it is. That's for sure.
How do you decompress? Or in other words, how hard are you to deal with after a loss?
I used to take it bad early, but my daughter's got to learn how to. It's okay. I've learned to good game, because I used to lose a lot. So it's like, hey, you know what? We got to be back in the gym tomorrow.
That's right.
Just keep on working, and you just a loss is a loss, but what's it going to do? We go into the locker room, we talk a little bit. What do we got to get better at? What did we not do well in this game? Well, we got to get better at that in practice and every day. I can't tell you how many people don't know how to rebound.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, I don't even know what blockout is. I'm going, do we teach that in middle school? No. Do we even teach it at the high school level? Do you even know what blockout is? Because your blockout team. So, those are the things that I think that they got to get better at. But yes, in the loss, you've got to learn how to just. And I know coaches that they're just like going crazy after a loss. I'm going, it's okay.
Yeah.
It is really okay, because you know what? We're alive tomorrow, and it's okay. It's really okay. I mean, I can take you down to the Children's Hospital, and it's okay. It is okay. So just learn how to take it, because you got to go teach tomorrow.
That's fact.
You got to teach in the classroom. You got to get your plans for the next day. Just take it in stride, and it's okay. Now, problem with me is I have a hard time sleeping.
Okay.
Because my deal is
hard to turn your brain off.
I'm thinking about what did we not do, and then what am I doing? I'll wake up at 1 o'clock in the morning. I'll have a pad next to my bed. I'm going, God, this is a great play. Or I just watched an NBA game. I recorded it, and I saw something that the Chicago Heat ran, and I'm playing it back, and I'm writing it down. I'm going, we might look at that, or whatever. So that's probably my biggest thing. Now, since I retired for a month or so, I was able to sleep a little bit better.
There you go.
Because no worries, you're not having to think. But that's just kind of been my mindset. But I think you have to do that as a coach. You can't just turn the switch off and start thinking about basketball the next morning. I don't think any coach would ever do that. But that's kind of what I do.
What about after a big time win? And maybe not a blowout, but a win against a team that was good enough to beat you, or maybe a team that you were supposed to lose to on paper. And then what does the next practice look like? Because your girls are still riding high.
Right. Now, I've taught my girls to just take a win for what it is, because a win's a win.
Yep.
So I think earlier in my career, when we were down there and we beat somebody that was really good, we go in that locker room, I'd spray them with water. We just had a good old time, holler and scream.
Straight up.
But our girls have got to a point where, hey, we win, we go in the locker room. Hey, great game. Even as a loss.
I love that right there.
Even as a loss, we don't take it that hard. I mean, we take it hard like, okay, coaches, what did we do? Or actually, I asked my players first, what do we got to work on tomorrow?
Mm-hmm.
Well, we didn't block out. Coach, how many rebounds we got? Well, they had 15 more than we are. Okay, let's run 15 ball touch or suicide or whatever. Learning things so that they get better at it. So not too high, not too low. I don't think you go into the locker room screaming and yelling at them and what are you doing? And I've heard that sometimes with the locker room next door.
For sure.
And I'm going, wow. And our girls would sit there and go, I don't know if I'd want to play for that, coach. I mean, just bloody. I was going like,
Right.
wow.
Ooh.
Okay, it's okay. It's
Yeah,
okay.
nobody
Get back
died.
in and learn. Nobody. Yeah, it's okay. So anyway, I think lows and highs, you just have to take them for what they are and just kind of business-wise go in and work and get better.
Got 3 more things I want to
Sure.
ask you, Coach. You mentioned that you got 2 golds and 2 silvers, right? What do you go in that dressing room and say to those girls when you lost one in that state final? Because you're one of the last 2 standing, and then you fall short. And obviously, there's no consolation speech good enough to really soothe them the way they need to be soothed. But
Right.
you got to say something.
Right.
What are you going there and say?
Getting into the States, I've learned a long time. So 11 in a row and 13 out of 14, you kind of learn how to play in a state tournament. It's totally different than playing in regionals and playing in area. There is a key to learning how to do that. But when you win, you're in that Final Four. We've been in 6 or 7 Final Fours.
Oh, yeah.
So we've been in ones that go, God, we could have had 5 or 6 balls, but we didn't. But when you're in the finals and you lose, there's always that loser. So the seniors, I mean, it's long haul. They played 4 years. They're going to bawl and cry and all that kind of stuff. I always talk about my seniors. We all go. I go to each one of them individual, and then we all go as a team. And then after that, real quick, better be ready for next year. And those girls know it. But that's a time where you don't spend a lot of talking. 2 days after I've lost, a gold ball, I've texted my girls, tell them how much I care about them, and they text me back, Coach, we're going to work harder and harder, that kind of stuff. I think that's, just like what we started the thing about, calling your girls, talking to the parents. You call those girls or boys after the next day and just tell them how much you care about them and that kind of stuff. They'll be ready for when season starts back up and all that good stuff. You always got to be in their back pocket.
Yeah. And when you get that close and no cigar, I don't think you need much motivation. Going into the next one.
No. If you can win that, if you lose that, you're ready to go for next year. Unless they're all seniors.
Oh, boy. All right. Now, hobbies. Outside of anything basketball related, what does Coach Paul Bass like to do, like to get into?
That's a good question. That's a real good question. Nowadays, there's really not a lot. I always like to bowl, fish,
There you go.
all that kind of stuff. But I've got 2 artificial knees, got shoulders that don't work very good anymore. I used to go up and down the floor or play half court with the girls a long
There you
time
go.
ago. Can't do that anymore. So really just hanging around the house, maybe doing some charcoaling.
There you go.
But now really going to the lake. We like to go to the lake a lot on the weekends. So if I ever have a weekend where we can go to the lake, I think right there just kind of driving down the road till you fall, just
That's that piece
feels
for you.
good, sitting on the porch, watching the pine trees move, getting out on the lake, fishing or just taking the grandkids, skipping on the water on the whatever, or skiing or what have you. So that's kind of my deal now, is just heading to the lake.
Real low maintenance, but big time.
Yeah, it's real low maintenance.
I like that. Well, here's how we'll put a wrap on this, Coach.
Okay.
I ask all my guests this. When you have as much history as you do, and you go back in the archives, I'm pretty sure you lost at least a few games that you feel like you should have won.
Oh, hell.
So if you could go back to one or a few if you want to that got away from you, but you felt like you had the better squad, and you probably still feel that way today, and if you could go back and run it back, which one of those would you go to?
Well, I don't know if it's a specific one, but when we were doing all that winning, and at the end of the games, we're making our free throws and keeping that margin and being able to finish games.
Mm-hmm.
Those ones we lost, I go back and look at them, and it's all about free throws. I mean, it's free throws. I've had games where we have it. It's open. We're going to go on and get to the finals again or whatever, and it's about we've missed a couple free throws. It could be the Muskogee we played, or no, who is that? Booker T. Washington back in the days.
Mm-hmm.
There were some of those that it was just we just didn't finish, and we finished so much before, so it kind of just turned around sometimes. But yeah, I think it was kind of just remembering what we didn't do to finish it. Not so much the teams the rivalries that we've had, and we've had plenty of them over time. But it was just learning that, okay, we that's why it's so important. You got to be able to make free throws.
It comes all the way back. It starts and finishes with that, doesn't
it's
it?
like, oh my gosh, if we just made those, we'd have had a couple more. But
That's a
anyway,
fact.
but it happened. So
it does. Well, Coach, I've enjoyed this thoroughly, man. I'd like to wish you well in the new endeavor at Newcastle. I'll be watching you from a distance, and I got your number now, so I'll be hollering at you.
Yeah,
all right, buddy?
got it.
Enjoy the rest of the summer.
Appreciate it so much. You got
I ain't with my day ones, Pull up some food, don't have to pay nothing. All